Okay, so I've already been testing this dash cam. It claims to have motion sensor, loop recording, 120 angle, and 1.8 screen. So sure enough, it does have a motion sensor, motion sensing I should say. It does have loop recording, it does have that 120 angle, and it does have that screen. And I want to talk about these things. And the motion sensor is not that great. You have to the motion has to be really fast for it to actually start recording. So you probably should forget about this. If don't buy this camera for the motion sensing. The loop recording has a it'll loop. That means it'll delete the last file. It'll record in segments, different files, and it'll delete the last file when it runs out of memory and record a new one. You'll have the options of 1 minute, 3 minutes, and 5 minutes. The 120 angle 120 degree angle, it does have that, because I made a comparison to another camera that has a 120 degree angle, and sure enough it has that fish eye effect, but it does have the 120 angle, and that's a good thing. And then the screen, I didn't actually measure the 1.8-inch screen, but it does seem to be that. That's not that important. So those are the highlights. Also the accessories, it has a suction cup. It has this very long, I didn't measure the length, but it's very long, the power cord, the USB car charger. I should mention that this uses the mini USB, not the micro USB. That's not that important, but you should know. The data cable is also a standard USB to a mini USB, not a micro USB. So you cannot use your phone's USB for this camera. It does include an 8 gigabyte SD card, so that's free for you, and it has a very good instructions. What else? 1080p HD. I didn't measure that, but it's fairly good for a dash cam. Screen size, or we talked about the motion sensor has built in. It has an accelerometer, and I'm gonna stop right here and talk about this. This accelerometer is not very sensitive, so if you're gonna use the accelerometer to save to log files, you're gonna have to get into a fairly decent crash for it to sense the crash, but a little bump it won't do. Loop recording, I already talked about that. It does have a microphone and it does record well. You're gonna see in the videos. USB 2 port and built-in rechargeable battery. It does have that, and it's fairly good. And it has the 8 giga up to 32 max, but it does have the 8 giga included. And what else? So let's look at the for now let's just look at the menu. Let's turn it on. So it automatically starts recording. That you have a setting for that. You can turn that off if you want. So to go into the menu, you press this M and go into either photo mode or playback mode or recording mode. So the one you'll be concerned about most likely is the recording mode, and then you press and hold the M button, and then you have choices. You have the resolution, image quality for the photos, not the video. The video is up here in resolution. You have loop recording. You have those options 1, 3, and 5 minutes. I'll leave it at that, at 1 minute. Then you have white balance, EV. I don't know what that is. There's the motion detection, which you can turn on and off. I'll leave it on. That's the accelerometer, by the way. Let's keep going. Auto record. That's when you turn on the camera, and like I did just right now, it automatically started recording. So I'm gonna leave it on. Audio. I'm gonna leave audio on because I like having audio. Sharpness, I don't know what. I'm just gonna forget about that. Parking wake. that's when you when the camera's turned off, because the vehicle's turned off and it's parked and you're inside the grocery store and some car slams into your car. You have the option of turning that on, and the camera will wake up and start recording. It takes about 3 seconds to wake up and start recording. So, and the since this accelerometer is not that sensitive, it's gonna have to be a really hard crash into your car for this to actually work. So it does work for very hard collisions, when you're in when it's in parking mode, when some car just slams into yours. But a little bump will not wake this up. I already tested that. Let's keep going. Date tag. Unfortunately, on this camera, there's no way to set the date. It's kind of like a glitch. They need to fix that. So the best thing to do is to turn it off. So I'm going to keep it on off. That's the G sensor, the accelerometer. I'm going to put it on high, but even on high, it's not that sensitive. Let's move on. Bep sound. That's the beeping sound. They misspelled it. I'm going to leave it on. Date input. This is the place where there's an error. There's just no way to fix this. I'm not gonna get into why you can't do it, but you just can't do it. So the best thing to do is to take off the date stamp. Auto off. This is how much when you disconnect it, how long it's gonna take. When you're not doing anything, it's gonna take 1, 3, or 5 minutes to turn off. Language. You have English, simplified Chinese, Mandarin Chinese. I think that's Japanese, Korean, Russian, French, Deutsch, German. I don't know what that language is. Portuguese, Polish, Dutch, Turkish, and this is from India. I can't remember what that language is called. So I'm going to leave it on English. It's notable that it does not have Spanish. Given that Spanish is spoken in so many countries, there's no Spanish in this thing. Just so you know. Light frequency. So this is if you're in the US, 60 hertz, and if you're in Australia, it's 50 hertz. So I'm in the US, I'm gonna leave it at 60 hertz, and that's only if you plug it into the wall, which you probably won't be doing this. So, but either way, I'm gonna leave it at 60 hertz because I'm in the US. Screensaver, that's I'm gonna leave it at 3 minutes. So that's when you're driving down the road, and so the camera is not in your face. You can leave it at that, and it'll turn off in 3 minutes. You can format the TF card, that's the SD card, and you can reset the system to factory default. And this just tells you the version if you want to know that. And that's it. So those are the menu options. So like I said, the highlights as far as this camera goes is that the parking mode works, but it's not sensitive enough for a tiny bump. So if a car's just gonna bump into your car and scratch it, this is not gonna record it. Even if it did, it takes about 3 seconds to wake up and start recording. By that time, that car's probably gonna have sped off. So don't count on the parking mode too much. Also, the motion sensing. Unfortunately, if you do this on the motion sensing, it will not start recording. You have to do this. You have to be fast. So you're gonna lose a lot of information. The motion sensing is just not sensitive enough. What else? This is how it looks like in the front. So it is, you can see it through the windshield. It doesn't look expensive, and but it is visible. So I'm not anticipating anybody trying to steal this, unless you live in a high crime area. And what else? There's a photo mode if you want to. This is the photo mode where you can take pictures. I don't know why you would want to do that. See, that's a picture. It took a picture. That's just taking pictures. This is playback mode. Oh, this when you're on recording mode, for example, right here, if the camera is recording and you have a crash, you can press this button right here, the M, and it'll lock that file so it doesn't get erased. The problem is that if you have a crash at the very end of one file, and by the time you press this button, it's on the next file, it's just going to record the next file. So the file where the crash actually is, it's just not going to be locked. So you run the risk of losing it if you don't download that file and you keep recording and it loops out. So you just have to keep that in mind. It only records the present file, not necessarily the file where the crash is. Another way you can another way you can lock a file is by going here into playback mode and then going now you have to go to picture mode, and then you have to press and hold this button right here. Well, I'm wrong. You go to playback mode, and then you press and hold the M button, and here you got these options. You have delete all, lock this file, unlock this file, unlock all, and that's it. So I already tested this, and when you have a locked file, it will not allow you to delete it because it's locked. Also, when the accelerometer locks a file, it would not allow you to delete it. And if you use the parking mode, any video recorded with the parking mode is going to be locked, so you cannot delete it unless you unlock it first. So those are the basic highlights of this camera. So the next thing I want to do is show you daytime and nighttime mode. But overall, I think this is a great camera. So let's look how it behaves, how it records daytime, and let's look how it records nighttime. So to turn it off, all you do is press and hold. You go back to this mode, record mode, you press and hold. And again, when this is installed in your car and you plug it in and it gets power from your car because you turn the key, it automatically starts recording. When you turn the key off and this doesn't get any more power, then it automatically stops recording. If there's a parking mode enabled and there's a hard bump, it'll automatically start recording. Let me just show that to you, the parking mode. So let's turn it on. Let me pause that video. So let's go to menu and let's go to parking wake. Well, they call it parking wake. Some cameras call it parking mode. So let's turn that on. And let's turn the camera off. Okay, so now let's do a test. If you bump it like that, yeah, automatically starts recording. And then this file is going to be locked because you won't be able to delete it unless you unlock it first. So let's test it again. So I'm going to do a light tap. Doesn't do anything, and I'm going to increase the... So there, after you hit it a little bit hard, it'll start recording. And it'll stay recording until I believe let's see how long it's gonna keep recording. I'm not gonna make any more bumps. Okay, so I paused the video, but after 30 seconds, if you activate the parking recording, after 30 seconds it'll turn off unless it keeps receiving bumps. So that's I think that's a very good thing. But as you can see, you really have to tap it hard. So this is the parking mode, or parking wake like they call it on this camera. The motion sensing, let me show that to you. Let me pause that. Let's go to motion detector. It's already turned on. All right. So it'll start. See if you move here, it starts recording right there. Let's test that again. Keep an eye. I'm gonna put it real close. So it records when it detects motion. But look at this again. If the motion is too light, it won't record. You have to go fast, and then it starts recording. And I don't even know why it turned off. It timed out. So it has its glitches. It was not supposed to turn off, but you can change that if you want. You can make it take 5 minutes to turn off. You can go into the menu. So let's go into the menu. Let's pause. And you can also, like I said, you can. I think that's the auto off. So I had it 3 minutes. I don't know why it turned off. So let's go back to this mode, and like I said, if you're going too slow, there it started recording. So I'm not impressed by it, but it does work in the most basic of ways. Okay, so let's go into the car and let's see what happens. Cable, if you want to, when you connect it to your PC, if you're going to do it that way, you just connect it to the USB port on the PC and you connect the other side to the camera. The other way to do it would be taking out the SD card and using an adapter and then plugging it into a computer that has a slot for an SD card. Or you can use an adapter that for a USB port. A USB port to SD card slot adapter, which you have to get separately. That's the other option. There is no Wi-Fi. There's no wireless way of looking at things on this camera. And personally, I don't think it's necessary. Another cool thing that I've noticed about this camera is that if you press the memory button, it'll save the file that it's being recorded. I'm going to test that a little more and see how that works. She can thank God that there was a external camera, a security camera around there somewhere that recorded the whole thing, and it did show that she did enter the intersection when the light was green, and there was another car that interfered with the flow, and then the light turned red, and it was actually the other car where the dead person was, the person that eventually died. It was them that they probably could have slowed down a little, but they just saw the green light and they decided that they had the right of way and they just sped through that green light. They didn't ask. Cameras do make a difference. So we're still driving in that same road that we drove last time. We're gonna see how this camera can capture nighttime recording, nighttime video. We're approaching an intersection. Okay guys, we have reached the end of this review. So overall, this camera does pass the Skywind007 test. It's good. It's basic. It's nothing fancy, but it does the job, and it can get you out of trouble if you have an accident that you did not cause and you want to prove your innocence. So definitely I like it. Definitely I would buy it for myself, recommend it to a friend. It's a good camera. Thank you for watching. Subscribe and give me a thumbs up, please.